listen, I've never done this before, Sam, so if I'm a wee bit all over the place, as I say,
You're
I'm a bit better at breath work than I am as running live videos. So,
you're fine.
Folks, I'm just going to tell you about Sam. Sam came to me as a mentoring client a while back, and we hit it off. I really like him. We worked as a client, but after he was a client of mine, we kept on talking, and we spoke about sort of how to do this sort of thing. And he was the one who said this group was initially just the only people who run this group who were people who went on courses with me. And I was giving them feedback and I was giving them ideas and hopefully working with them. But he said I should open it up a wee bit more. Was that more people need to understand about breathwork. That's why I started inviting people on. So there's people who haven't been on any of my courses but are on the page, and hopefully they're getting a wee bit of benefit from it. So you'll have seen the pictures I've posted about Sam. You didn't see the pictures where he was carrying a bit too much weight. Fighting back the health story. I thought it'd be really interesting for you guys to hear his story and hear where he's came from and where he is at the minute. So Sam, it's over to you. I'm going to sit back and just listen like everybody else.
Thank you, mate. Well, to go back to day one, started basically about 8 years ago. So I was in my very late 40s. I had been obese, very, very obese all my life. I had always struggled with weight right back to childhood. So I was a fat kid in the class back in the day. Was very, very badly bullied for my weight as well. And that haunted me basically right through my teenage years. I dieted very heavily in my teenage years, but it never worked for me. So I was doing the slim fasts and I was taking diet pills and everything else. I was a secret eater as well. So I would secret eat and I would binge eat. So that culminated in fast late 30s when I am 21 and a half stone, 44-inch waist, pre-diabetic, had been in hospital a couple of times with suspected heart attacks, but it was down to high blood pressure, the lot. I was an absolute ticking time bomb, an absolute disaster. And I went to buy a suit. I owned a motorbike shop up in Derry, and I closed that up one Saturday afternoon, and I went to buy a suit for a wedding. So at 4:15 that Saturday afternoon, my whole life changed because I went to buy this suit, and I asked the guy for a 38-inch waist because I couldn't bring myself to say 40. There was this mental thing about it. I couldn't bear the fact that I was a 40-inch waist, as I thought. So the guy gave me a funny look, but he brought me a 38-inch waist. And long story short, he came back to the change room and he was like, "Oh, mate, you're more like a 44." And in that instant, David, my life fell apart, completely fell apart. So 4:15 on a Saturday afternoon, and I'm a big enough man to say I cried the rest of the weekend. It was total and utter breakdown, complete breakdown about where I had got to. So I woke up on the Monday morning and I thought I need to do something about this for the business. And as it was then, it was JJB. Was in the same industrial park as the bank. So I done my lodgement and I thought I need to do something. Do you know what? I'm going to go and join the gym here. Something I would never have done because I was so self-conscious about my size. So I went up and I thought it was just as simple as going in and joining the gym and whatever. And the girl was like, "No, you'll have to do an induction in the gym." And I was like, no, I see this is all getting weighed against me here. But I persevered with an induction with a guy. And long story short, I just got stuck into it. I hadn't a clue what I was doing. So I exercised. I was so unfit. But I got, because I had this massive determination, I couldn't be that fat person anymore. So fast forward 5 months and I was 5 stone lighter from that day. But at that stage, I was literally starving myself and I was exercising maybe 3 times a day.
Wow.
So I was going to the gym first thing in the morning. I was nipping back up at lunchtime to train again, and then I was training in the evening, or was running in the evening, or whatever the case may be. And I made myself very, very ill. I basically lost 3 days of my life. I completely wiped out. And all I can remember at that point was thinking, this can't be the tipping point now. I can't go back to 21 and a half stone again. It's going to kill me. And there was a light bulb moment that night. I thought, this is all to do with food. I need to learn about food. So I started studying nutrition, just part-time, just for my own benefit, never to be a nutritionist, never to be a PT, just to stop me getting fat again, basically. And the more I learned about food, the more I started to understand the mistakes I had made, the more I started to understand probably why I had been fat all my life too. So I ended up losing 7 stone that year, and then went on to study sports nutrition and different specialisms and all the rest of it. But I gradually then started to work with clients because everybody had seen my own transformation. So I would close the motorbike shop every night at 5:30. And then I would write diets for the rest of the night. I would have all these clients call the motorbike shop then to get diets written for them. And the results started to ripple out from there. Basically, all these people started to lose all this weight with me. And then they were asking me to train them. So I went away and qualified as a PT. And then I had a real bad crossroads in my life. So I ended up going through the divorce from hell. Probably everybody thinks their divorce was the divorce from hell. But mine was. It genuinely was. So I ended up, I lost everything that I had worked for, and I was starting from scratch again. So I was sleeping on the floor of my shop at that stage. And I just had this massive call on them. I thought, no, this is what I need to be doing. So when I say I set my own gym up, it was an old aircraft hangar on an old airfield with the wind rushing in both sides of it, and I had no equipment, nothing. So I done like a body weight boot camp for the first month, but my results were already out there, so people were keen to work with me, and then every month I just reinvested. And like, that's only a couple of years ago, and now I have the gym that I have today, and I'm coaching clients all over the world, and I'm mentoring other PTs to grow their business and so on. I've had clients follow my footsteps. I've ended up competing 4 times in the last few years. So I've been on stage, doing physique shows and so on, and I've had clients now lose 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stone, and I've put some of them on stage. So the last few years, the whole journey has just been, there's days I wake up and I think of what has happened in the space of 5 or 6 years, and I think this has to be a dream. This can't be true.
I had no idea you'd only been doing it 5 or 6 years. I thought you'd been doing it for a lot longer than that. I seen the photographs of you were carrying too much weight, but I thought you were maybe in your 30s, and that was a good time ago. For me, this is the thing that sort of strikes me about you. You're happy to just share your story. Most people would not go on a camera and say, I was told I was 44-inch waist, and I cried for a weekend. Most people wouldn't say that. And I think that, people who are overweight or have any medical condition, it's almost like go and they let it go until it gets to the point where they just can't stick it anymore. There has to be that tipping point. And it's almost like you have to break down before you can actually build yourself back up again,
Yeah. And a lot of clients that come to me, that's exactly, I came to you because I was at my lowest ebb. I had reached breakdown with anxiety, but a lot of clients will come to me and say, I've had clients physically say, Sam, I'm on my hands and knees here. I can't get any lower than this because their weight is affecting them so badly. And that pulls at my heartstrings because every time I have that conversation, I'm right back in that changing room in Carlisle Road and Derry buying that suit again.
Yeah. It's and I think for me, I think with the breath work for me, nobody would have noticed it, but sort of I had a wee bit of anxiety and I had high levels of stress, and I was being a person who didn't want to be because I was angry all the time. If things weren't right or going my way, I was annoyed, and it was the tipping point for me, and that's why I sort of brought in Steve Maxwell from America to work with me for the breath work. So I think some people need to go low before they can get back up again,
Oh, completely. I think you have to experience that because then you see the other side of it when you come out again. I know I never want to experience that feeling again. So people say to me, how do you stay so motivated and all the rest of it? It's it's the fear of that day hanging over me. I can't ever go there again.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people, if somebody's 20 stone and they're working with a coach who is like that, and been like that all their life, they think, you haven't a clue. You don't know what I've been through. You have no idea what this is like, because we can all be a wee bit flippant and say, look at the size of him or look at the size of her.
Yeah. For
you
sure.
think you stop eating, but it's very much.
There's more to it.
There's so much more to it, and anxiety and stress are two of the big keys for eating sugar. They just are. If you're stressed, you're going to eat sugar. If you're anxious, you're going to eat sugar. If you're bored, you're going to. There's people. If they're bored, they're going to eat. If they're anxious, they're going to eat. If they're stressed, they're going to eat.
It's what we do, and especially in this country too, David. We celebrate every emotion with food.
Yeah.
So if we get good news, we eat. If we get bad news, we eat. If we're stressed, we eat.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's what we do. And that if you come from a position where I was, where you are a compulsive overeater and a binge eater and everything else, you get to a point where you feel that's the only thing you do well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's an awful feeling. And I talk to clients about that, and that's a very dark place to be, where you feel the only thing that you're good at is actually self-destruction.
Yeah. And it's you're killing yourself with every spoonful that goes in your mouth.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a sad fact. And I know people who are type 2 diabetes, have type 2 diabetes, and it wouldn't take much just to take them out of it.
No. Oh no.
Have you had many clients you've taken out of diabetes? Type 2.
Tons. I've lost count. I mean, I remember a statistic at a stage 72% of type 2 diabetics could be cured through nutrition alone, basically. But I've lost count of the number that I've had. I've lost count of the number of clients that I've got off blood pressure medication, all sorts of other medications. Yeah. That's why I love what I do. I'm up from 4 o'clock this morning. And I'm working 15, 16-hour days, but I bloody love it because I'll get that message from somebody to say, Sam, the doctor's just been on. I can come off my blood pressure meds, whatever. Yeah. That's what makes me tick now.
Yeah. That's brilliant. I just I threw up on the page where one of my mentor clients this week said, I woke at 6:30, an hour and a half earlier than I usually do. I'm buzzing. What's the catch?
There
is no catch. If you're looking after, I talk about sleep, I talk about nutrition, I talk about, I'm into fitness myself, but they're all key components. For me, I've chosen a pathway, which is the breath work, which is if I said I'm a PT, people would know what I do. But if I say, I teach people how to breathe, they go, well, I've been breathing all my life. I know how to breathe.
Yeah, I know how to breathe. Well, I thought I did. Until we had our first session and you said we straighten up.
Yeah. So it's a strange phenomenon. I think it's going to become mainstream. Breathwork is going to become mainstream, without a shadow of a doubt. I think too many people are prone to self-medicating with food. They medicate with food. And they medicate with, if they have an upset stomach, they'll take I don't even know what they're called, but the digestive tablets to help with their digestion.
Antacids and so on.
Yeah, antacids. And I was watching an advert with my wife earlier on today, and it said it was some sort of medication for stomach upsets, and it said, and we have this thing to reduce the damage to your intestines. And I thought, reduce the damage that your tablet is causing.
Yeah,
exactly. The selling point is you're reducing the damage that it does. Now, learning how to breathe right, learning how to eat right doesn't do any damage. As long as you do it the right way.
But we love a sticking plaster, but that's the problem. I get clients come to me and say, I'm a few stone overweight, but unfortunately I tend to carry a lot of fluid and a lot of water. And I'm saying, but you don't drink any water, you're massively dehydrated, you eat far too much processed food, so your salt levels are far too high. That's why you carry a lot of fluid. But David, far others think, I just carry fluid. Do you know what I mean? Because I've had the big bone one all the time, but my all-time favorite is I eat nothing, I don't eat enough. So somebody that's stones overweight.
I have had friends who tell me that they don't eat at all. They don't eat at all. Steve Maxwell, who's one of my mentors, they put 10 of these people in a hospital ward with the diet plans that they said they'd been doing for the last 10 weeks and hadn't lost any weight. And believe it or not, when they were actually put in a room and were only allowed to eat what they said they ate, they lost tons of weight.
They lost a lot of weight. People, for my book that's coming out, I've done quite a detailed study actually on secret eating. I mean, people doing food diaries at 1,100 calories and stuff like that there that are actually eating 4,500 calories a day. We lie. I done it for 40 years. I know we lie about what we eat. Do you know what I mean?
I watched the and we're digressing a wee bit, but it's funny how people and it's not funny. In one way it's sad, but in another way it's you think, why do this? I watched America's Biggest Loser, and the guys were losing tons of weight, and then they sent him home for a week. And the guy sat with his friends while his friends were all eating steaks and ribs and burgers, and he just had a salad. And he said, well, good on you, because your friends aren't supporting you. Yeah. But it showed you him videoing himself at 2 o'clock that night in the fridge, eating everything that was in it, and crying. He was actually crying. And it was, there was part of you wanted to laugh at, and there's other part of you just wanted to cry, because the guy was crying. Really sad. And he said, he was putting the food in his mouth, and he was saying, I don't know why I'm eating, but he kept on eating, didn't stop.
Well, listen, that was me. I mean, if I'd went to a social event, I was like, right, I'm 21 and a half stone. I'm going to kid on here that I don't eat anything. So I would be eating nothing, not having dessert and all the rest of it. And then I would go home and feel so deprived that as soon as everybody was in bed, I literally would start and couldn't stop. I mean, I would set out to eat 2 biscuits out of the packet, and the next minute I would be in the second packet. So, I mean, that was me. That person was me completely. But I mean, that led me to, I would binge eat so badly then, and then I would hate that feeling in the stomach of all that food in the stomach. So, I mean, I was on my hands and knees eating soap in the bathroom to make myself vomit to get rid of that feeling. It's so destructive, and it's amazing how many clients come to me. I remember being in Cool FM, being interviewed one day and talking about secret eating and binge eating. And my phone exploded after that interview. People messaging me and phoning me to say, I'm doing all those things that you said that you do. I mean, that this is actually, it's rife. It really is rife.
Oh, it has to be. It has to be. We wouldn't have the epidemic of people being overweight. And, the funny thing is, it took Boris Johnson to have COVID-19 before he realised that he needs to do something about people's weight.
Yeah, to wake up to obesity.
Yeah. So
it's mad.
It is madness. And the link between obesity and breath is massive. Most people who are obese. And quick question: are you seeing it more in your clients who are coming in? Are you watching their breath? Are you watching how they're breathing?
Massively. I've just had a client this morning who's been talking to me about the fact that he can't sleep. He said, I'm going to bed, Sam, and everything's racing through my head and all the rest of it. So I started describing the way I was before I came to you at the start of the year. And he goes, I'm doing that. I'm doing that. That's exactly what I'm doing. And just while he's standing talking to me in the gym, the chest is, mouth breathing, chest going up and down. And it took me back to my first appointment with you, where you were like, look at your chest, man. You're just mouth breathing to your chest.
Yeah. It's I posted a thing about the chaser, because the chaser was on last night. You just seen her going. So she obviously suffers from anxiety.
Of course she does.
And this is the thing: everybody, and especially men are the worst for it. Men will pretend that I'm not nice. This and that and other. But then they can't sleep at night. They wake at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, racing thoughts in their head. That's anxiety. That's anxiety.
Full on anxiety.
So it's obesity's reaching an epidemic proportion. Anxiety, and we haven't seen. And I posted yesterday. We haven't seen the damage that's been done from the lockdown, and it'll all become apparent about once we hit September, October, where the nights start getting dark. And people haven't had that good summer, that holiday and whatever. Because a lot of people live for their summer holidays, and they're not getting it.
Of course they do.
the furlough ends, and I think that there's going to be a lot of people with stress, anxiety, overeating is a sign of that too. So it's trying to help and support as many people as can, and I really do appreciate you coming on board to I had no idea your story, so
I think the whole anxiety thing, I mean, it was kind of the elephant in the room too, and I was very reluctant to admit. I mean, this happened to me from December right through to February just past, and I was very reluctant to admit that it was anxiety.
Yeah.
Very reluctant to admit it was anxiety, because here I was, this PT, this bodybuilder guy that's on stage training all these clients. Business has exploded. It's super successful. I'm mentoring other PTs to grow their business. I'm public speaking. I'm at Aston Villa Football Club speaking to 500 people and all the rest of it. So I'm like, no, I can't have anxiety.
Yeah.
Can't be that. It has to be something else. Has to be something wrong with my heart, or there has to be whatever. It can't possibly be anxiety. But at the end of the day, as you know, you're the man who fixed it, so it was.
But and it was a quick fix for you. Sometimes for other people it's a long fix, but I think one of the reasons it was a quick fix was because it hadn't taken it had taken hold for maybe 3-4 months. But there's some people come to me and they have had anxiety for 40 years.
Yeah.
So it's hardwired into their system, and it takes a wee bit longer to get it out.
You know what too, David? It's very similar to me walking into the changing room that day and deciding I need to fix this weight, because the day I had my first appointment with you, man, I hadn't slept for 3 months. Wow. So I was basically, whatever this man tells me to do here, I have to do it. I'm rolling the dice here. This has to be worth a shot. And as you know, that night after I'd done my first session, it was the first night I slept in 3 months. Yeah. That's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And the anxiety seemed to die that day.
Yeah. Well, I felt I was back in control, because I mean I had been in hospital 3 times, admitted in the middle of the night with suspected heart attacks and strokes over that period. I was paralysed down the left hand side of my face, left arm, left leg, for about a week and a half at one stage.
Wow.
I mean, I couldn't work. I was pulling up at my gym and my clients are. I've built myself up to a stage where I have a year-long waiting list for PT, so I can be super fussy who I train. So I love my clients. My clients are amazing, so they're good people. And I'm pulling up at my gym that I've built from scratch. I'm so proud of, and I couldn't even walk in the door of the place because the anxiety was so bad.
Unbelievable.
It was crazy. So I had 3 months of hell. I mean, it was one of my clients that actually hooked me up with you and said, look, this guy's amazing, Sam, go and work with him. So it was kind of, I didn't know if it was going to work, but the way I was looking at it that day was like, I'm rolling the dice here, I'll try anything. Do you know what I mean?
For me, obviously there's there's a cost. There's a cost to everything. If I want to be your client and I want to be mentored by you in physical fitness and losing a bit of weight, there's a cost to it. But, what's the cost not of doing it?
Yeah, of course.
Could you
there's
imagine
always an alternative.
How far could you have kept your livelihood, your health, everything going if you hadn't taken that risk and actually said, look, I'm going to try this?
Well, it's very simple, because I'm at a stage in the middle of that one night where I'm sitting in the middle of the night, and when I got myself in some way calmed down, because the night times were just horrendous, that there was one night I was sitting writing out the passwords for my online bank accounts so that Kathy would have them in the morning, because I was convinced I wouldn't see sunrise. So whenever you're in that state, whatever cost is attached to you coaching me to get me out of that, that's not even on the scale. It's like if somebody come to me 9 years ago and said, right, Sam, here's the state you're in now and the size you are and all the rest of it. Do you know what? Give me 20 grand and I'll make you 14 stone and you'll have your abs out. Well, I would have remortgaged my house to do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if you're far enough down, if you're in a dark enough hole, it wouldn't matter what it was. Yeah. So relatively speaking, your coaching's way too cheap because it gave me my life back.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate you saying that. That's very nice. Very nice.
It's true, but
well, the other part of that, one of the things that struck me when I was working with you on the first thing, because I'm giving people exercises, and I know it's difficult to do any exercise. And when you're in a gym, and you have somebody standing over you doing the exercise is hard enough. But when you're told you have to do it at home, and for you, I give you an exercise and said, I want you doing it every hour on the hour. And that's to do something for, it was only 2.5 minutes, but for to do some 2.5 minutes every hour on the hour, and your reply was, I said, I know it's a lot to ask, and you said, listen, the alternative is worse. the alternative to that is stress, not being able to sleep, anxiety, and you had high blood pressure as well.
Yep, and which I shouldn't have had. But I mean, immediately I started doing that. I had a follow up with the cardiologist, who was actually a friend from school, and my doctor had put me on beta blockers, and he went absolutely crazy that I was on beta blockers, because he said, you have no need to be on these, get off them straight away. But that's because the breath work was working so well. So
I think what had happened was that you hadn't told me you were on beta blockers, and I had given you some exercise that were going to take your blood pressure down. But because you were on the beta blockers, with the exercise I gave you plus the beta blockers, you actually got, I think you got low blood pressure.
Very low. Very low. Very low. I was having the next thing was lying on the ground with my feet in the air and all the rest of it, trying to get blood back in my head.
But as soon as you went off the beta blockers, it was perfect.
100%. And I mean, in terms of sleep, I do my breathing exercises every night before, and I joked with this guy in the gym this morning, because I was telling him what you have me doing, and I said to him, look, I get to like breath 3 and I remember nothing for the next morning.
You're gone.
Gone.
It's amazing, and for anybody who wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, I was at 3 o'clock. Bang, 3 o'clock. And some of my clients are 4 o'clock. And there's one person that I spoke to, and he said, I wake up and I can check my watch, and it's going to be 3:32 every night on the dot. And I thought that I was, well, first of all, I thought I was getting old because I need to go to the toilet at 3 o'clock in the morning. But it's because I wasn't getting a deep sleep. So my bladder was still awake. But people wake at 3 o'clock in the morning and their head is full of nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Total nonsense.
Because you're going to sleep stressed. So how do you think you're going to just fall into deep sleep? But even just those, what's happened is there's now a link in your brain that basically says, as soon as I start doing this breathing techniques, I'm going to fall asleep. And you just fall asleep like that.
It's time to go to sleep. And that's exactly what happens to me, because I was 1:15. That was my time. I would wake. So that made for a long night. You're up from 1:15. Like. And I was afraid to go to bed, so I was putting off going to bed later and later, because the prospect of what was going to happen was so frightening to me. So it was literally going to bed where I normally went to bed at 10:30 or 11. I was pushing it back to 12. Going to sleep, for want of a better word, for an hour, and then for the rest of the night. Whereas last night it was 10:30, breathing exercises, bang, up at 4 o'clock this morning, fresh as a daisy.
It's a number one nutrient. You can last for 3 minutes without air. So you need to think about your consumption, and I really do associate it with obesity, in so much as overconsumption. What's wrong with people at the minute? Well, they're over consuming everything. They're eating too much food. They're consuming too much Facebook, which leaves them stressed, and they're over breathing. And those are 3 major issues in life.
The other thing with that too, David, and I know this from experience and with working with clients too, do you see if you have a really bad night's sleep? That will totally dictate your calorie intake the next day. You know what I mean? So you're nearly on a beaten docket before you even start. You're going to consume more calories the next day, without a shadow of a doubt. And that, by definition, then takes you above calorie maintenance and the calorie surplus, and all of a sudden you're gaining weight. You're not gaining weight by magic. You're gaining weight because you're physically eating more calories. But you're physically eating more calories because disrupted sleep and raised cortisol levels have a big impact on that.
And sort of one of the things that I've a few clients who came in and have upset stomachs, and irritable bowel issues, problem toileting, and all those things. Again, draw back to obviously what they eat has an issue, but also how they breathe, because digestion starts in the mouth.
Yeah,
And if you're highly stressed, you've no saliva in the mouth because your mouth's dry. If you're relaxed, and we did that 2.5-minute exercise, and your mouth is full of saliva. If you haven't got saliva in your mouth when you eat, then you're not digesting food right, because it starts here. So you're taking food into your stomach, and you're not getting the nutrients out because your stomach's working so hard.
There's so many elements to this, because even you'd said to me about the training side of things. You said, look, you're going to see benefits from your training here as well. I mean, over lockdown, I've been working. I have my bench press up to 150, and my breathing is now an integral part of my bench press.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's unlocking that extra power, that extra longevity whenever I train. Breathing is just in everything I do now.
Well, even you'll hear people, and they're releasing too much stress. You need to have a level of stress, but if you tell your body it's too stressed, it's going to say, I want to stop. Whereas if you say it's relaxed, I train hard. If I do a lot of body weight exercises. I do pistol squats, and I physically walk like I'm drunk when I finish the pistol squat. Yeah. But my breathing has been on point the whole time. I haven't got out of breath.
It's massive. But it's you don't need any proof that this works. But can I share something with you that just happened today?
Yeah.
I have literally just come from a reflexology appointment.
Yeah.
And I would have went to this woman, but I haven't been with her for a couple of years. So she didn't know anything about the anxiety. She didn't know anything about the breathing or any of that. And she's very, very good, this woman. But she done my treatment today, and she was like, wow, Sam, that was amazing. She says, there's things coming up with you, she says, that I've never had with any client before. And she says, this is a weird one. And she says, it's not even going to mean anything to you whenever I tell you what it is. And she says, but your vagus nerve, goes, it's supercharged.
Yeah.
Was the way she put it.
Yeah.
And she goes, that maybe doesn't mean anything to you. And I goes, well, actually, it is. There's something I want to tell you. So I told her about you working with me to stimulate that and put me under rest and digest and all the rest of it. And she was just like, that's mad. She couldn't get her head around it at all. Yeah. She says, I've never seen that in a client before.
Yeah. And, obviously you're fit, strong and healthy, and you have a really good diet. So that's all part of it. But I think maybe that was just the missing element. You had all your ducks in a row, but that was just the missing portion that you needed, was to get that 1 point. And all the studies as far as vagus nerve is concerned, that's massive. With gut health and
it's huge. It's huge.
With so many things, it's unbelievable. And again, you can with breath work, you can stimulate the vagus nerve.
Oh, for sure. I know I was in fight or flight constantly. I was never, as you pointed out, I was never getting into rest and digesting, and that was the problem. So we can't pour from an empty cup. You can't be on the red line all the time. So.
Absolutely. And you do need to rest. And I'll talk to people and say, I only sleep 4 hours a night, and you go, okay, but they're falling asleep at the wheel of the car. So
exactly.
There's something wrong there, and even just the fact that talking about people falling asleep at the wheel of the car, people aren't functioning right. If they're not sleeping right, they're not breathing right, they're not functioning right. They're getting less up the brain. You need to sleep well to recover from the day.
Of course you
do. Well know,
exactly.
you don't build muscle in the gym. You build muscle sort of
when you rest.
When you rest.
Yeah.
So a lot going on there. So listen, I don't want to keep it too long, but we had a good few views, and we'll have more as we move forward. But really good that your vagus nerve is on point. Really good that the breath work has worked for you. I'm really pleased because I'm in a position where I'm a martial artist. That's what I do. That's what I love. But I've found I've been doing martial arts I've been teaching martial arts for 38 years. It's a
long time.
And this is just, we've reinvigorated me a wee bit because I'm bringing it into my martial arts. But I'm really enjoying. And to be honest, martial arts is going to be a long haul back because of the contact of it. And I manage a large organisation, but I'm really taking great pride in the people that I'm mentoring, because they're getting massive results.
Yeah. I mean, I know other people that are working with you, and they're doing just as well as I did. So.
Yeah. So so I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased to come on. I've been watching some of the comments that have been coming up on the page, and they've all said it's just refreshing to have somebody so open and so honest about their problems. I think that's I've spoken to a couple of people who know you, and they've all said this he's a lovely guy, and he's really open, he's really honest, and I think that gone are the days that you just as a gym owner or as a PT or anybody who's there to help other people are just selling a product. You have to if your heart and soul isn't in it.
Waste of time. Total waste of time. Yeah.
Unless you really, you certainly have to make a living, but at the same time, unless you care about people, and are willing to actually listen to, because when I'm doing the breath work, and I didn't sort of do it as much with you, but with some clients, it's very much you're getting in touch with. The breath has changed to a panic breath at some point for a reason. We were born breathing like that, and it could be a childhood trauma, and it could be something that happened in their adult life, or it could be just the way they sat or something else. Just a quick story about reflexology. I was working with a client, and I told him that he had some sort of trauma. There was something that was, you could just tell he had a trauma, and he went and he got reflexology, and the reflexologist, he contacted me after that, and he said, that reflexologist, you know what he said? I said, no, what he said? He said, I've had some sort of trauma in the past I haven't dealt with. I go, no, that's what I said.
Just told you that,
But a lot of people, they know how to work their computers and they know how to work their jobs and whatever, but they don't know how to work this, and they don't know how to work their gut, and they don't know how to work their muscles. And I think that if everybody invested as much time in let's be honest, if we all invest as much time in ourselves as we do on Facebook and Instagram, would be flying. Would be absolutely flying.
And we do need help. I mean, I went from a business that was an empty barn basically to the gym I have today, and coaching 150 clients online as of today, America, Australia, all that. I didn't do that without coaches. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There was coaches there at I didn't go on stage without a coach. I didn't do any of those things, and I think especially in this country too, there's this stigma attached by saying, I'm going to have to get help with my breathing. Well, isn't that great that you take it so seriously that you're hiring coaches to do that? You know what I mean?
Listen, I didn't make this up. It's been taught to me, and some of the stuff that I'm being taught has been passed down generations for 4,000 years. And there's nothing new here. And our ancestors knew what to eat. They knew how to sleep. They didn't have the modern illnesses that we have. They had tough lives, but they if they ate well and slept well, they had a good, fulfilling life. But most of us are just working to pay the bills and the eyeballs and can't sleep at night. And, people who aren't overeating, people are just bottle or two of wine or something else, So crazy times. Thank you very much. I'm hoping to have other people on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis. Just people who, because this group, I've seen that we have. I've seen a couple of people's faces or name pop up. We have a guy called John Rosper, who's a neuromuscular therapist. Really excellent, worked on my shoulder, did a lot of good work on my shoulder. We have a guy called Baron Clark, who's a personal trainer, and he specialises in people with major stress issues. So we've all these guys, and I know there's so many people in the group, and I just want to make this group something that, I would say there's people who have listened to your story, and it's just made them think, and if it makes them think, and it makes them not eat half a pack of biscuits tonight. Job done.
It's all worthwhile.
It's that if you drop a pebble into the lake, you don't know where the ripples go. You just don't know where
exactly.
to go. So,
for sure.
I think your success is well deserved, and is because of your journey. I think your journey is what took you to where you are.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
If you hadn't had all those issues, you wouldn't be the man you are. So,
and the anxiety was part of that too.
Yeah. And I know you said you had the divorce from hell, but that wouldn't have led you to being with the woman you're with now, and
absolutely
the life you have now. So, more power to you. So, thanks very much. I hope everybody enjoyed that. Send a wee comment. If you have any questions, post them below, and if Sam's on later or tomorrow or whatever, maybe answer them. And if you have any questions for me, give me a shout. Just an absolute 100% plug. I'm doing a 2-hour breathwork course for sleep and anxiety on Monday. 2 hours, £10. Tell your friends. Plug done. Okay. Thanks.
Good man.
Thanks very much, Sam.